On today's episode, our guest will share his story. And like many who have come before him and been able to exercise and understand the importance of being resilient, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was our example. He set forth to help us understand how to be resilient. And so, if you've ever wondered, what is resiliency? How does it look? How do we encompass it and play it out every day? Stay tuned. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Either you're on your lunch break or you should be on your way to lunch, away from the desk. I am so happy you're here with us today. So, after a quick break, I want you to join me in welcoming Dedrick Johnson, Mayor of Texas City, Texas, father of four, to our space. Do you have a story to tell? Wait. We all have a story to tell. If you are ready to tell your story as it relates to your mental health and the journey, the struggle, the management, the awareness, the lack thereof, we want you at Am I Crazy with LaShasta Bell. And what about sponsorship? Oh, thanks for asking. Because there's also the opportunity for sponsorship. Do you have a product? Do you have an event that you want to shout to the world? If so, check out our sponsorship. Same place as the guest forum. See you soon. We offer face-to-face and virtual counseling throughout the state of Texas. www.ichoosemecounseling.com.
Promoting a higher standard of life and style through the art of lifestyle with Sabrina Cross.
I just want to say off top, thank you so much, Mayor Johnson, for joining us today. I know that your schedule is beyond busy, and we just appreciate you showing up to drop a few little gems on us and to share your story about your mental health journey. So we know where you are right now.
Right.
You know, Mayor Dedrick Johnson. Tell us, how did you get here?
Well, it was a pretty long journey, but one that, almost seemed to be immediate. I was first got into city government as a run for city commissioner back in 2000. Actually, let me precede that. Back in 1998, I ran for city council and I lost. I lost my very first race. I ran again in 2000, 2 years later, and I was elected as city commissioner of one of the districts in Texas City. I served 16 years in that position. 8 consecutive terms, and I decided to take a step away from city government for a little while and focus on my family. My son was graduating from high school, and I had a career change, and the opportunity presented itself here in 2020 to get back in, and I got back in a seat that I thought I was primed for, and so God blessed me to be victorious in that election.
Wow. And I'm sitting here thinking about timeline because we met in education.
Yes.
When you created the village to have a special place that could be cultivated for educators of color so that we
Yes.
could support the students. And I'm thinking so you were doing that and a city councilman at the same time while holding a whole full-time job.
Yes.
With D2 through 5.
Yes.
Tell us, how does one balance so many roles that are vital to someone?
Yeah. So you become whether by choice or by default, you become a master of time management, right? And time management skills are very important when you try to multitask and juggle. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of that. I just saw a need, especially when it pertains to our role in education. My peers looked at me as somewhat of a colleague, a leader amongst colleagues. And so we feel that need with what you referenced as the village, because we have all heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And that's what we were doing. We were doing our part as educators to help raise other people's children. But additionally, it had kind of a double entendre. We were our own village because we needed to be that support for one another that we didn't see in a district like Texas City Independent School District. And so, yeah, it was a great support system and people really appreciated that.
Absolutely. I know I did.
Yeah.
I was fresh into the district and trying to find my way. The only person of color,
Yeah.
I think it was two of us, me and Connie, and just understanding the culture of the district. Because,
Yes.
every school district has a different culture.
Absolutely.
And that was a great space to learn, not just how to support students, but how to navigate in the district and to understand what the students' needs were across the board, because it's such a unique space, because we know, Texas City is what would we call it, with the oil and gas.
Yes.
That's the culture.
Yeah, industrial town.
Industrial town. Thank you. I was trying to pull the words.
That's all right.
I'm glad somebody got them. Industrial town. And so that creates a different culture within itself. And so the village was so very valuable to me that it was exciting to go and see and hear and have conversations. So you're doing these various things. How are you say time management and balancing? What would that look like in an average day? Of how would you decide what time you would give where?
So eventually things began to overlap, and you look at it like a Venn diagram, right? Time is one thing you can't create more of, right? There's 24 hours in a day, and that's it. And so you begin to multitask, and people would say, "Well, how can you do this and be a father at the same time?" Well, I involve my children in what I'm doing, and so there's your overlap, right? And so I'm being a father while I'm serving on the commission. People will tell you my 20-year-old son, he was practically born in City Hall. I mean, I was sworn in year 2000 in May. He was born in April. I raised my right hand to take the oath of office, and my son was in my left hand. Literally, there are photos of that. And so, you begin to multitask. You begin to involve your children and things like that, and they appreciate that. But at the same time, you have to set aside some one-on-one time with self, right? And just make sure that you're adequate to fulfill all these other roles.
Gotcha. Do you feel like at any point in time, something didn't get the adequate time in your life?
Wow. Yes, I do. It was probably city government. So there was a time when I began to focus, on my career. I had a career change. I left education and went and joined the oil and gas industry. And I was less involved in city government, less involved in the community activism that I was so used to. And I didn't want to give a mediocre service to the citizens of Texas City, which is why I decided to step down and allow someone else to hold that seat, pass the torch on to someone else. And that's what I did. But once I got a hold of everything and said, okay, I got my second win and this and that, and I'm used to what I'm doing here at my new job. That's when I decided to get back in city government.
Gotcha. And that's valuable that you were able, because you said before spending time with self, but you were able to realize, like, I'm not giving my best self.
Right.
And if I'm not going to give my best self, then I'm going to allow space for someone else to do it while I take time to kind of rearrange things. So now, fast forward, we are, seeing the first Black mayor of Texas City, Texas.
Yes.
What comes along with that? Like, how weighted is that, if at all?
It's definitely weighted. When you become the first Black mayor or the first Black anything, you have a responsibility, right, to make sure you do such a good job to where you're not the last Black mayor or the last whatever your first accomplishment was, because people are going to look at you, and unfortunately, it's not fair, but what in our culture is, they're going to look at you and define any successor you may potentially have by the job that you did. And so that's kind of heavy, but it's something that I knew when I signed up for. So I appreciate the responsibility, but I always go by that mantra that's biblical: to whom much is given, much is required. And I think I've been blessed and equipped to lead and serve our people, and I'm here for it.
Okay. So you threw the scripture out there. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that card and ask, how has that encompass the journey? Like, where has your spirituality grown? How did you cultivate it to be in so many spaces that, for lack of a better word, was not the most comfortable space for a black man? From the school district to oil and gas, we know, living in Texas and living in this area, that there are certain descriptors that come with certain settings, and oil and gas is not the most friendly place.
Yeah.
Period. I have plenty of of people that come into my office.
Yeah.
It's a culture that you have to have a tough skin. It's a culture that does not contribute to your sleep and your rest ethic because of 12-hour shift, the DuPont schedule. Look, let me throw them languages out there.
If you know about DuPont, you're there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had to put my little street credit out there. Let me pop one time, for the people to know that I know what I'm talking about. But you get less sleep. It's, tough skin. How has your spirituality played a role, or what role has it played in each of the settings, from creating the village in Texas City ISD to going to oil and gas to being the father of 4?
Yes. Well, that was probably the biggest challenge is working in the oil and gas industry. And I've had to fall back on my faith because you are tested and you are tried. You are the minority in number, and there are some behaviors. It was such a drastic change. There are some behaviors that are tolerated in the oil and gas industry that wouldn't even be allowed in the front doors of an ISD. Right?
Tell me about it.
And so for that reason alone, it was somewhat of a culture shock. And if you're not careful, or if you're not sound or on a foundation, then you can become indoctrinated. You can become institutionalized in the behaviors that they put forth in the workforce. And, not everybody out there is someone that's a challenge behavior to deal with, but for the most part, they were. And so every day I have to kind of decompress mentally before I go home so that I don't take whatever behaviors or attitudes that I may have picked up at work to someone else who didn't deserve to see that part of me. So, it's a challenge. One of my mentors in the oil and gas industry once told me, he said, "Hey, we make good money out here." He said, "But you don't make good money for what you do. You make good money for putting up with these fools you work with." And I took that and I ran with that, and I've held on to it. I was like, okay, yeah, the job is easy, but I get paid to deal with these people who really don't know how to navigate the different personalities. And that's what's been getting me through, along with my faith, along with the solid foundation. So it's been a journey, but I'm loving it. I'm used to the DuPont schedule now, rotating 12-hour days one week, 12-hour nights the next week, sleeping when you can in between. And so that was a challenge initially, but I've mastered that part.
Growing up, young women find themselves at an age where they start to notice their body is going through changes. With these changes, there may come stages of fear and being uncomfortable. We are here to make that transition as positive as possible. If you would like to throw your own personal glow-up party for your young queen, contact us quickly as slots are filling up. We hope to see you soon. And remember, we'll make you glow up. All you have to do is show up.
So you were sharing on the break about the campaign and how it went from a few months of campaigning to almost a year.
Yes.
Please share more about that.
Well, typically the municipal elections are held in May. And so we announced, the candidacy in January. So from January to May, you're looking at about a 5-month campaign. But like everything else was thrown off by the pandemic, coronavirus. And so the May election was canceled or postponed until November to be combined with the national presidential election.
Wow.
Yeah. So what was once a 5-month campaign turned into an 11-month campaign. So you had to prepare for that, not only endurance-wise, physically, mentally, financially, because we literally put out signs, and then there was a hurricane that tore up all the signs, and then you had to probably either buy some more signs or replace some signs. And so it was stressful if you weren't prepared for the different things that, that life threw out. But that was stressful. Not only the 5 to 11 month campaign, but just the nature of a campaign in general. When you're stepping out there doing something that people said couldn't be done, then you find out that some of those people who said or thought it couldn't be done were actually your allies or your friends, and that was real disappointing. Along the way of a campaign, you seek endorsements. You want people or companies or organizations to endorse you. There were a couple of endorsements that I sought that I just knew was a home run for me, and it would be mine because I've worked with these entities, and I did not get those endorsements. That was pretty tough pill to swallow.
You slowed down with that. So was it a tough pill to swallow? Have you swallowed it all the way yet? We got the victory.
I held it under my tongue for a long time. I'm not sure if I swallowed it, but people have their different reasons for either not endorsing you or choosing to endorse your opponent. And I had both situations. I had some who just chose not to endorse, some who gave us joint endorsements, and some who just outright endorsed my opponent. But in either case, they were all people that I just knew endorsements I had wrapped up. And at the end of the day, I probably had one endorsement, one official, maybe two official organizational endorsements. And I took those and ran with it. That's when I had to dig deep into my faith. And I began, I was questioning myself at the beginning. I saw myself as the underdog. I saw myself as the little black boy from the south side of town running against this attorney and this person who the incumbent is even endorsing. And I started to question myself. But when my own potential endorsements decided not to support me, I kind of got my second wind, and I actually stumbled across the scripture that said, if God be for you, then who can be against you? And so when I said, if I knew for certain that God was on my side, I was like, bring it. It's a wrap. I mean, I just, put my chin up, put my shoulders back, stuck my chest out. And I was like, people would ask me often and say, hey, how's the campaign coming? How's the campaign coming? And initially, it's funny because these phases, maybe from January to June or July, I'd be like, oh, it's going pretty good. It's a lot of hard work. We hanging in there trying to do what we do. Give the politically correct, what I call scary answer. But post July or August, when people would say, how's the campaign going? I was like, it's a wrap, man. We're winning. We're doing it. I had a whole different answer because I began to believe that. And then that belief in me started to show because my son, who is my campaign manager, by the way, he began to believe that. And he worked hard trying to register 18 to 25-year-olds to vote and this and that. And that was a huge success. And so the whole confidence, swag, faith thing was just on another level. And people might have seen it as arrogance, but it was far from arrogant. It was just without a shadow of a doubt, I knew I was going to win.
Wow. I have chills for so many different reasons. There were so many gems because are we talking son D2?
D2.
That was in the arms.
Yes.
That just graduated.
The same young man that was in my left hand when I was sworn in 20 years ago was my 20-year-old campaign manager.
Wow.
He's a public relations major at Texas State University. And he was so energized by just the fact that his dad is running and his dad has the potential to make history and I'm going to do my part. And I've seen my son, we kind of look at son, he's glued to the video games and the cell phones and this and that. I've never seen him so focused and energized. And that, people say iron sharpens iron. I mean, he energized me, I energized him. It was a wrap. 3-4 months before the election, we started taking little friendly bets on what the victory spread would be.
Okay. Look, and that second win, you say that's when you leaned into your faith, you pulled out the scripture. Was there anything else that you would incorporate on a daily, on a weekly? I know on the break you talked about music.
Yes.
What allowed for that second win? Because a lot of us right now,
yes,
we could use a second win.
You know what? My support system allowed for it largely. People coming up to me and say, hey, man, we believe in you. Where can I make the donation? You can do this. I remember when you did this for me. I remember when you worked with my son. I remember me being a former school teacher helped because those people that I taught many years ago were now of voting age. And so they say, hey, my math teacher is running for mayor. Or the parents even, they say, hey, this guy got my daughter to pass the SAT or this and that. So my educational base really served its purpose as far as being a support system. But then there were times where, like I said, when I had my one-on-one time with me and with myself, and I would just play some tunes just to kind of relax my mind, kind of stay grounded, right? Because I didn't want faith to be misconstrued as arrogance, right? And but it was like, God, if this is what you have for me, just tell me where to go and what to do. I'm gonna do it.
That's it.
Every day there was something small that showed in some way of confirmation, right? It might have been a song, it might have been a visit, it might have been an email. Hey, you can do this. There were people from California, Arkansas, Louisiana telling me we're supporting you. My social media campaign is what reached out to them, so people were able to see the online candidate forums and the flyers and the interviews, and so all of it, everything came together. I can't really pinpoint one particular part of the campaign, but the support system was strong.
Right. Well, I mean, you just laid it out. Your faith, your scripture, staying devoted, being persistent,
Yes.
encompassing your family and your support system, music. Now I need to know, did you sing with the song? Did you dance with the song? Or did you just listen to the song?
I just listen. I'm not a singer, and I dance occasionally, but COVID has kind of stopped some of that. But I just listened, and there was just so much, inspiration. My theme song for my campaign was "Caravan of Love" by Ronald Isley and Jasper Isley.
Okay.
Every woman, every man joined the caravan because we were living in such a divisive time in this nation, right?
Yes.
And so what I wanted to do, one of the things I wanted to do is unify Texas City, unify our community. And whether you want to be on the side of love or side of hate, that's your choice. But I was telling every woman and every man, join the caravan.
Yeah. Look, I don't sing either, but I'll rock a little bit.
And so I would listen to that daily.
Okay.
Daily.
And so just having something to meditate on daily.
Yes.
You had your spirituality, you had your music, your support system, and it brought you to this space. And another thing that really resonated with me is that the people you thought had your back did not,
Yes,
but it did not stop you.
Not at all.
That there was some that you had never met, that you allowed to speak over you, speak into you, to give you that courage to keep going.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So if we have that access close by and it doesn't work, it's okay. Let whatever access you have work, because that's what you did.
That's exactly right.
When some that was supposed to be, down like 4 flats went flat before it was time,
Yes.
you didn't allow that to create any stagnation. And I wholeheartedly, I'm so very proud to even know and have access to the first Black mayor of Texas City. But even before then, the moment that I was included in the village just because it's like, you want to do good. That was so amazing. And then over the last 10 years, just being able to be part of a community that is about creating unity in the community and you leading that off. Like, it's not a moment in time or a year and over the last 10 years that I can't recall that there was a moment that you were right there on the front line doing for the community. And I know that took resilience. I knew that it had to take you doing something every day for you to be able to show up for others. And we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see all the great things that happens in Texas City and to be a part of that, because it's all about the village.
Yes.
So thank you again for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
having me. One of the things that I just really want to impress upon everyone is that when you know that you've been given an assignment, a divine assignment, and nothing can deter you. Nothing can deter you. I chose me.
That's it. Okay, I see you encompassing. So you hear Mayor Johnson. The one thing he wants to leave with you guys is when you have been given a divine assignment,
Yes.
nothing can deter you. And that divine assignment can come from any God, from within. It's just the thing that's in your gut that just won't let you rest. Follow it. Thanks again for
Thank
coming.
you for having me. Appreciate you.
Do you have a story to tell? Wait. We all have a story to tell. If you are ready to tell your story as it relates to your mental health And the journey, the struggle, the management, the awareness, the lack thereof, we want you at Am I Crazy with LaShasta Bell. And what about sponsorship? Oh, thanks for asking. Because there's also the opportunity for sponsorship. Do you have a product? Do you have an event that you want to shout to the world? If so, check out our sponsorship. Same place as the guest form. See you soon. So Mayor Johnson shared with us his walk through some of spaces in life that really presented with adversity, that maybe a person that looks like him should not ever been able to walk in the space and be successful as he has been. Some of the things that I want to highlight from his sharing his story is his ability to be resilient, to face adversity, to face something that was designed to beat him down or stop him, but to be able to continue and knowing how to continue. And for him, that was self-care. And I get it, self-care is trending, hashtag self-care. But in its most basic definition, self-care is any actions, any behaviors, any thoughts that improve your mental or physical health. So when he shared, he read the scripture, and from there, he thought of himself as the victor, no longer the underdog. That was self-care. When he took time to be by himself, that was self-care. Any words, actions, thoughts that improves your mental or physical health, impacts it positively. He went from thinking, oh my goodness, am I gonna win this, to, oh, we got it in the bag, it's a wrap. So understanding self-care and the value of self-care, and once we take care of ourselves, then we can understand the importance of community and the support system. He also highlighted his support system helped him to get to the place where he is, to be the first Black mayor of Texas City. But he also shared that he didn't think that his support system that helped him to get here was not encompassed of those that he imagined it would be. So understanding the value of having that support system, but also it may not look the way you imagine. And that's okay. It's there. So be sure to take care of yourself, exercise your resiliency, and use your support system.